Welcome back to Brashonomics. You know, a lot of people out there have a project they want done. Maybe it is garages or maybe it is building a better closet. And typically, when it's something that's in your house, you can see it. You can determine if the job was well done. Well, there's also things in your house that you can't really see. You can't really see the pipes. Well, hopefully, or else you might need some walls. You might not be able to see the electricity running or the actual wires, although you can see if the lights work. But sometimes there's things that could be done poorly where they seem to maybe function for a short period of time, but don't always function down the road. Steve Araki joins us from Beacon Plumbing. Now, Beacon Plumbing has helped people with their plumbing and provided excellent emergency plumbing and heating services to the greater Seattle area for more than a decade. And Steve Araki joins us, the customer relations specialist. Hey, Steve, how are you?
Good morning. Thank you. Thank you for having us on.
Well, thank you for joining us. You know, and we talk with Beacon Plumbing a lot because of, well, I guess the customer relations that you guys have with your customers, and you heard Paul talk. You've heard a little bit about the rhetoric going back and forth. There is this price versus kind of sustainability, and people get what they pay for, right?
Right, and the policy of our company is that we always give you the price up front. So before you agree to have any task or something done, you're going to know exactly what it's going to cost. And there won't be any renegotiation after the fact saying, oh, well, it really took longer to do this or that. Once we agree with the customer about the price, we assume the risk for how long it's going to take us to get the task done. We are telling the customer we're going to achieve a result. This is what it's going to cost, and we'll take care of it from start to finish.
And is that different than some plumbers? I mean, I guess it's that hourly basis versus project.
I think the plumbing industry is kind of split between time and material companies and flat rate companies, and it's up to each individual company how they want to proceed. But we have found that in the past, trying to do time and materials, that not all technicians and plumbers are created equal. And so a guy that takes an hour to put in a water heater, how do you price that against a guy who's slow and might take 3 hours to put in the same water heater?
Or put it in right versus wrong, I guess.
Well, they'll put it in right. Our guys will put it in right regardless of an hour versus 3 hours.
Okay.
But the point being is that from a company standpoint, pricing, and as Paul was talking about being sustainable, we've just found that the flat rate works best for us and our customers. And, you know, our company survives on repeat business. Probably over 70% of our business is repeat. Now, people don't have plumbing needs all that often, and that's a good thing for them. But when they do,
especially if you're helping them, you're not keeping coming back.
Exactly. They don't want to see us on their doorstep frequently. But when they do have a problem, then they do call us back, and we believe that's because we gave them the proper service the first time. And they remember that they can get a fair price and get a good job done, and there's no haggling about what's going to take place.
Yeah, it seems that it's probably 50% of the population that wants to haggle and 50% of the people wants a guy they can trust. So, you know, let's say somebody goes and they want a plumber, or they need a plumber. I guess nobody wants a plumber, right?
Correct.
But they need a plumber, and somebody comes out and however they're collecting fees, they don't do a good job. Now, that plumber could just be gone. I mean, it's not. How does that work? I mean, how does a bad plumber end up, you know?
Well, that's one of the things that we're concerned about in our industry, and we've been trying to take a more proactive approach with the regulation of the people that are out in the field. When a technician goes out to someone's home, they're our employee. If something goes wrong, of course, our company's liable, and we stand behind it, and we carry millions of dollars of liability insurance and that sort of thing to cover the problem. What we see industry-wide is that the technicians, the licensed guys themselves, aren't regulated or subject to any kind of sanctions or any kind of discipline if they go out and do something that's crazy and really wrong and harmful to the customer. We've been trying to get
turning the hot cold and the cold hot.
Well, not in the hot cold, but in the plumbing business and things, that you can do things that could gas piping and things that could be very dangerous to somebody. And our perspective is that everybody in the business, from the companies to the employees, should be held accountable. We know that we are held accountable as a company. We'd like to see all the other plumbers and licensed people in the business be held accountable.
Well, if the plumbers are licensed and they're licensed through the state of Washington, isn't that holding them accountable?
Right now, currently in the plumbing business, there is no mechanism or legislation set up to discipline an actual plumber. If a licensed plumber went out and did something that was just grossly negligent or fraudulent and essentially stole from a customer, that plumber's license still goes on. And so he'd obviously get fired from the company he's working for, but he'll go off to another company, hire on, and then that new company has a problem of facing the same problem of a rogue employee.
Sure.
And so our perspective is that one of the ways to raise the professionalism of the business and the standards for the consumer is that somehow, some way, a mechanism should be put in place for the technicians, the licensed guys, to have their license subject to discipline, sanction, or even suspension or termination. And in that way, the technician, when he goes out to someone's home, A, he's going to do what the company asks him to do, and that's going to be do a good job. But B, in the back of their mind, it's going to be, I can't simply come in here, rip and run, and go. And then if something bad happens, then I'll just go on to open up my own little, pickup truck business, unlicensed, or to go into the company.
So, Steve, I guess the question is as a consumer, now if somebody knows that there's this problem out there, you can get a plumber who doesn't really have to guarantee their work and, they go fly by night or whatnot. How does a consumer protect themselves? Because, as you said, the state of Washington really isn't doing that. How does an individual protect themselves?
Currently, the individual protects themselves by dealing with a good company. That's the only way they can really do it, is say, I'm dealing with someone that I know and I trust. They're reputable. Everybody who's in the business, of course, is going to say that I'm licensed, I'm bonded, I'm insured, all those sorts of things, and those all come with different levels. But the proof in the pudding is going to be, can I trust you? And how do I know if someone, comes to my doorstep that I can, trust them? And in our case, we're fortunate because we're dealing with a lot of repeat customers who say, I know I can trust you. I know you'll be fair in your pricing. I know you'll do a good job. I know if there's a problem, you'll stand behind your work.
I had a water heater, and it was in a condo, and it had radiant heat. It was this big, huge water heater thing that was some ungodly amount of money and for a water heater. And we had a company come out, and they were a decent-sized company, and they installed it. And then all of a sudden it started gurgling and making all these noises, and the company went bankrupt. Within a month after they installed it. Now, there's no way I could have known that unless I'd have to dig pretty deep. I don't know how I would have looked into their financials, but I mean, maybe that's happening less now that the housing market, a lot of the companies are sustainable versus, right when in 2008 when a lot of them didn't have the business. But I mean, that's something that happens. It's no joke.
No, it is not a joke. And people, we talk about pricing and trying to negotiate the best price and a good price, and we find that people will end up calling back and saying, well, I've got it taken care of, and we'll follow up to say, well, who did you hire? And it'll be, well, it was this guy that was in a pickup truck, and he came out and he did it for substantially less. And we say, that's good. I hope your problem's solved. If it's not, then I hope that you have some recourse to the people that you can hold accountable. Again, that board accountability, that I know that I can trust somebody, that if they're going to come out there, they're going to be accountable for what they do.
How can you set up an accountability, or how do you set up maybe a level of trust with a company when you first start working with them?
Well, I think the first thing you find out is if you get a live person answering the phone or an automated system. At our company, when you call, you'll get a live voice, because typically people don't want to hear, if you have a problem, press 1. If you'd like to talk to our accounting department, press 2. In the meantime, the customer's going, well, I really want to get my stuff cleaned up. I don't want to sit here and listen to a bunch of prompts. So the first thing you'd find when you call our company is you'll get a live voice. A live person will answer the phone. And at that point in time, the customer can, get a sense of what is going to be involved. We'll take them through our basic call sheet, and then if they want to get an appointment set up, we'll be there typically within an hour.
That's pretty good. I mean, right there. I mean, that's the accessibility. And in the plumbing industry, I don't know anybody who just calls a plumber to say hello.
They don't. And the problem again with people calling up in our business and emergency services is we can't see over the phone, let alone see into their walls. So when people get are upset that we say, "Oh, I'm sorry, we really can't give you a price quote on the phone. It wouldn't be fair."
My house is flooded.
Yeah, we'd really like to get there on site, take a look, and then we'll give you the price, and then you can make your decision informed, and that works best for us.
Well, anybody who would price, we see it in the mortgage industry too. People are always asking for, okay, well, what's the rate? And you're like, well, I don't know anything about you. I don't know your credit score. We don't know what your house is worth. And so you can't give somebody a price without knowing. You can't give a solution if you don't know the problem.
Right, and you can't give them a responsible answer either.
Right.
That's the other thing. You may as well just be talking to the wind because you're really not giving anybody information they can rely on or do something with.
Yeah, well, Steve, thanks so much for joining us. We do have to go to break. Again, Steve Araki with Beacon Plumbing. When we come back, Steve's going to stick around. Paul Valley and Heather Moore will join us as well, and we will discuss a little bit more about customer service and pricing and how it all comes together. We'll be right back.